guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is Arlen. In today's episode, I interview Emma. We go over a variety of topics ranging from how to make female friends or friends of the opposite sex, how to overcome social anxiety and a bunch of other random questions that I'm sure you guys have been wondering about Emma and me and other things. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. You will hear me mention a group chat that I created. And in that group chat, we discuss dating, sex, relationships, and how to build a social circle, a group of friends that supports you toward your goals. It is free, but to get an invite, you have to direct message me on Instagram at Arlen Moore, the word tribe, that's TRIBE, tribe, if you'd like to get an invite. So you can do that right now as you're listening. My Instagram's at Arlen Moore, ARLIN Without further ado, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Mindset Design Podcast with your host, Arlen Moore. In this podcast, the hope is to provide the listener with actionable advice and inspiration to inspect their own mindset and make the changes they need to achieve success and fulfillment in their own life. Guests include celebrities, multimillionaires, social media stars, artists, and everyday people who have found their internal happiness and created a life they perhaps at one point never thought possible. If you'd like to support the show and learn more about mindset design, visit mindsetdesign.com or go to who.be/Arlen. That's HOO.be/Arlen. Or simply share an episode with a friend. That would be fire. Enjoy the show, and here's your host, Arlen.
All right, I know how we're going to start it. Okay. All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is your host, Arlen. Today we have a very special guest. She is 19 years old from Boston/Cape Cod, Massachusetts. She is a model, YouTuber, businesswoman, shark. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Emma MacDonald.
Hi, guys. I'm Emma. Basically, yeah, that's me.
Here we are. We've been friends for a long time. I'm sure everyone here knows who she is. If you don't, well, you'll get to know her. And the thing we were going to start off that I normally start off with, which I think is funny, is I usually ask my guests to recall some kind of a story from their life, like something with maybe a moral or something like funny that just hooks the viewer in. And Emma and I sat for the last like 5-10 minutes trying to remember something that was like good to tell for a podcast. And all of it, we just decided was we just couldn't tell any of it. So we have nothing.
Everyone use their imaginations.
Yeah.
It all just involved like people that are in the public eye or just other, I don't know, just stuff that we can't talk about on the internet. So, that being said, I don't know.
If you know, you know. But you don't.
You know.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I guess like we could just give like a brief background of how we met. So Emma was working at a gas station in Cape Cod, and I went to high school with Emma's sister Maggie, and Maggie was like, "Arlen, my friend Emma," or my friend,
my sister Emma like wants to
get into modeling. That's what it was, right?
Modeling.
Yeah, modeling, YouTube, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's just that world. And she was like, do you want to come take pictures and YouTube? And Maggie wanted to do YouTube as well. So I was like, Emma's working at a gas station? I was like, what? So then we went and we did some photos and videos. And I peer pressured Emma into starting YouTube. And it happened. And then the rest is history.
The rest is history. Well, I remember you made one of those really cool videos that you did, which you did one for me, for Molly, for her bikini line. Remember that?
Yeah.
So then we were like, Maggie was like, Emma, you should do something like that, because like I've never like done something like that before, like literally never been in front of a camera really. And so we did it and it was so much fun. And then you were like, you need to do YouTube. And I was like, honestly, like, yeah, because I think I had like 10K followers at this time when you made that video and then did YouTube. And then now we just run the world. But like, yeah, we just like do whatever. We travel, we have fun. I come out to LA, we run around.
Yeah. Dang, my mind just keeps going to all these funny little moments, but I can't talk about any of them. But we're going to talk about, productive things on this podcast. I think that there's a lot that people can learn from and benefit from. I recently started, this could be a good place to start for both the guys and the girls listening, but I think mainly from my audience it's going to be guys, mainly from your audience is going to be girls. So a two-sided perspective on this specific topic I think would be good. And it's that I think you and I have a really good friendship, and a lot of guys that follow me always ask, like, how do you make friends with a girl? So, and vice versa, I feel like some girls in your audience might be wondering, like, oh, how are you and Arlen friends? Like, how do you guys build that friendship? So I guess I'll just start by asking you, and then you can ask me if you want. Like, what do you think makes our friendship strong? And what do you think are things that, actually, this is even just good feedback for me. Like, what do you like that I do as a friend?
Well, being friends, coming from my side, I'm friends with more guys than girls to begin with. It's always been that way. Not because I'm like, it's not like every single guy that I'm friends with, I like want to like hook up with. It's like I have actual friendships with them. Guys are a lot less drama than girls. They don't care who you're talking to. They don't care what you're wearing. Like they don't want to one up you. They're not jealous of you. It's just a normal friendship. So it's so fun. But also like being friends with a guy is just like I don't even know how to explain it. It's just so like easy. And then like being friends with you, you're different than oh my god, you're different. But you're different than the normal guy I feel like I'm friends with because you're motivating and you will like help me with things that I'll get the point of view from a guy through you, but as like on a friendship level, but you help me with things that girls wouldn't help me with. Like girls can't help me with because you have a different look. Like if I'm like, should I post this picture? A girl would be like, yes, but then I get like an insight from a guy or like you help me a lot with guy advice. Like I'll come to you with boy advice and it's great because I get the advice coming from a guy's mind. So it's like girls and guys' minds work very differently in relationships. And it's like, if I'm asking you for advice with like a guy I'm talking to, you're like, oh, this is what he actually means. And I'm like, that makes so much sense because I thought
Mhm.
the other thing. Like, I would think he's being mean, but you're like, no, he's just a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting. We've never really talked about this at all. I'm sure people will find this kind of fascinating, but the majority, because half the questions that I will do a section at the end here of like viewer submitted questions, and half of the questions are like, are you guys dating? Like, well, it's like, well, half of what, well, not half, but like a lot of what we talk about is like your dating life or mine.
And we're like,
We're like bouncing the female, like from you I get like the female perspective, from me you get like the guy perspective, and I think that is something that makes our relationship good, and we're like very honest with each other, and um yeah, I think because a lot of, at least in I'm thinking of my audience of guys right now, and you might be able to relate to this just from guys that maybe don't succeed in your friend realm, is like they see a pretty girl and they're like they can't get over the fact that they could be a friend and be like for example, I ask you about your guy relationships all the time, and I feel like some guys like are afraid to do that or don't realize that. Yeah, I don't know, they just don't do it, you know.
I think another good thing about being friends with a guy, when you and that other guy, like when you and the guy know that you guys are just friends, the guy will and the girl both set boundaries. So it's just a friendship and nothing else, you know?
mhm.
So it like doesn't make it weird or anything. And it just like keeps a good friendship.
And I think that's another part of it. Is like a lot of guys are really insecure about being in the friend zone,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I mean, to be honest, I like pretty much immediately classify every girl I meet from day one as like friend zone.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like before you even decide to hook up with someone, it's like, shouldn't you decide if you want to be their friend in the first place?
I always start off with someone as being friends with them. Like, so for example, the guy that I'm talking to right now, him and I were friends for a whole entire year, like good friends for a whole year. And then I was like, oh, I think I have feelings for him now. And then now we're like more than friends. So
Mhm.
just like things like that will happen sometimes, or sometimes like you'll literally strictly just be friends with a guy. Like I have another guy that I've been friends with for like 4 years. He's like my best friend. I'll call him all the time and like tell him things. And it's like, you know, there's differences. But yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
you open up into a relationship.
What do you think about the girls' perspective for this? Like girls trying to be friends with guys but having a hard time doing it. I don't even know if that's a thing. I know it's a thing for me because I started this new guys group and they're all like, "How do you make friends with a girl?" I'm like, "Ask her about the guy she's dating." That's literally like step 1. Like ask her about
Just like talk to her about, don't be weird, don't be like, set boundaries, don't be very like, don't act like it's a girl that you're interested in more than friends, like, but to be just friends with a girl, yeah, just start like hanging out with them, but like make sure that the way that you talk to them isn't like you like them, as but like not like, don't be mean, but be like you just want to be like friends, like just be like, oh, like, hey bud, like what's up.
yeah, I actually there's I think a good way to put it, good frame to put around it is to be the gay best friend that isn't gay.
Yes. Yes, that's perfect. All of my guy friends in high school, it's like I'll hang out with them like one-on-one, literally just us two. Like I've had sleepovers too, but we'll sleep in like other opposite rooms. Like this is back when I was in high school, like living at home and stuff. But anyway, it's like they were my gay best friend, but they weren't gay. I have gay best friends, but these ones are just like, they're just not gay, but they're still my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that's the topic that I think a lot of the guys that follow me were wondering about is just like how to make a friend that's a girl, because I think a lot of it again comes down to insecurity. Like they feel like they don't. I'm just going through my notes right now. I don't know if I'm paused.
You are not paused, it's fine.
Yeah, like they feel like if they're in the friend zone, they feel like not worthy, you know? And it's just like, you got to get over that. And the funny thing about it too is like when you have friends that are girls, at least for me, it helps with actual dating a lot. Like girls that I date now, because I'm friends with you, like I just understand girls more because I hang out with you a lot and we talk a lot. And I talk to you about like how you're like an open book to how you perceive the guy that you're dating, And it really helps like me understand what a girl actually wants, what a girl doesn't want, what a girl likes. So there's so much value in that. This is kind of like weird. You and I don't even. This is like the first time you and I ever really even like unpacking this and analyzing it. It's kind of funny.
I know, because I feel like we normally just do it and we don't actually talk about it. We're like,
Yeah.
just like normal things. Like one day you and I, this is like something that I'll always remember. We were getting coffee. We just sat in a park, but we weren't like analyzing us doing it. We were talking about guys. Like I was giving you, just like spilling out all my problems, and you were giving me advice about it. And we just like, I'll always remember that advice.
Where was this?
When we stopped at that little park after we went to Cafe If or something.
Oh yeah. That, and then and the day we went on the hike.
The day we went on the hike, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very valuable.
It is. I value a lot of my friendships I have with guys like obviously not more than my friendships with like my girl best friends, but I value them a lot because I learn
Mhm.
a lot, not only about myself, but like about guys and
Mhm.
species and like the way that they are.
Well, I'm curious. What do you think you've learned from me about how guys operate? I'm pretty like to the point with you. I'm like, nope, it's like this.
You're just straight to the point where like certain issues are coming from that I have with guys, like will stem from certain traumas I've had in the past or like things like that. You're just very raw and real when it comes to those type of things. And if it's
Mm.
like about a guy and I'm asking you for like guy advice, I feel like I can't give specific examples because then it like gives
Yeah.
away, like the guy, but you're just it's hard because it's like if it's like a guy that's older, you're like, this is how he's acting. If it's a guy that's younger, you're like, he's literally stupid, like he's so young. But I really can't say that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I know we're tiptoeing a fine line. When it comes to like choosing friends that are girls versus friends that are guys, from my perspective, I think a lot of guys as well struggle with making friends that are girls because they see girls very like one dimensionally or two dimensionally. Like they're just like, oh, she's hot, therefore she can't be my friend. It's like, well, have more standards. One, like physical standards. Like, there's so many different types of beautiful out there, and like, there's got to be some that you're more or less attracted to, and then obviously the other layer is like personality wise, like career wise, like decide which girls you see yourself actually dating, and then which girls that are better as friends. And yeah, go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like for girls at least, we guys look at girls and it's like you're hot or you're like just a friend or whatever. They have like two categories. But for girls, you have like all these different categories where it's like a guy you date, a guy you'd marry, a guy you'd just hook up with, a guy that you'd be like best friends with, a guy that you're friends with, a guy that you would literally only ever be friends with like if you're friends or hanging out with like other guys, like stuff like that. You know, we have like all these different stages or like levels or categories for guys, but guys are just like when guys are looking at girls, it's literally just like two things like, oh, that girl's hot, like I can't be friends with her, or that girl I can be friends with, but like I wouldn't date her, you know?
Mhm.
But you
Yeah.
just got to be more open to all different types of categories, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, guys are very
Mm-hmm.
difficult for us. um, okay, I think we've exhausted that topic. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about. I mean, we can talk about as much as you're comfortable with, but I feel like anxiety is a good topic. Um, I guess like a good bridge is social anxiety. Um, I don't know. What's your experience been with that in your life and how that's affected you, and we can just go into how you deal with it. Hopefully, provide value to people, even if it's just relating.
I have gone through waves with anxiety and social anxiety when I was younger. It was really bad. I would get bad anxiety going to school. Like this was when I was in like middle school. I'd get really bad anxiety when I was in school. My mom would come and pick me up, or I would get bad anxiety going to sleepovers and I couldn't sleep over places. My school would do things like school trips when we were in like fifth grade or something. We'd go on these little like sleepaway trips and it was on like the seashore and we'd go learn about it literally for like a night, and I couldn't go on them because I had such bad anxiety of being away from my mom. And so I got over that obviously like as I got older, and I would go to therapy ever since I was young just to like fix those types of things and talk to someone else
Mhm.
about it. But then I was in high school and something that was actually super traumatic that happened to me was I was being bullied by like all the girls in my grade, which was like my friend group, and it was really hard because they all turned on me at once and I didn't have any friends left. And I would go to lunch and I would sit down at the lunch table with them and they would all get up from the lunch table, and we would sit in the lunch table that we sat in too was in the middle of the cafeteria. I'd sit down at the table and they would all get up and leave. And then it was just me sitting alone in the packed lunchroom. And I was like, oh my God, like this is so terrifying. So I would start eating my lunch like in the library or like trying to hide and be like literally in the bathroom. Like I just couldn't be in public. I didn't ever go to football games because I didn't want to be seen in front of a bunch of people because I was always alone. So that was scared. That was scary. And then it got better when I like transferred schools and stuff, and my social anxiety got a lot better. And I feel like doing YouTube helped with that too, because I put my life online and I was always on camera and I was in front of the camera. So it opened me up a lot more because I'm a very quiet and reserved person, or at least I used to be. And I feel like now that I do YouTube and stuff, I'm a lot more open and I'm a lot more out there. But I feel like in the past year, my social anxiety has come back a bit since quarantine started. You're not outside all the time. You're not seeing a bunch of people, or at least like when it was really bad last year, we weren't doing that. Now things are opening up again and you're starting to like go places. And it's a little bit scary because, like, for example, last weekend, I was supposed to go somewhere. My anxiety was so bad. I was like going through a lot mentally, and that didn't help it at all. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, oh my God, like that's just like my social anxiety kicked in. And I was like, I can't do that. And I get this really scary, like gut feeling that's like makes me feel like I'm trapped. And I end up getting super overwhelmed and I break down. That's something I'm trying to work on with my therapist. What helps me a lot is having a therapist too. But sometimes like other issues that I deal with will lead to my social anxiety being really bad, like normal anxiety or depression, like things like that would happen or like will come up. It all comes in waves for me. It'll come up out of nowhere and then it'll make my social anxiety worse, making me literally like a little kitty. Hello. Making me
Say
literally
hi to Emma.
shut down and not do anything. Like I'm trying to work on that with my therapist. So something that helps me a lot is going to therapy. One of my old therapists when I grew up on Cape, she prescribed me, well, she didn't prescribe me, but she was like, you should be taking this medicine that'll help your anxiety. And it covered ADD and anxiety. I still have it. I don't take it as much as I used to or like at all because I don't like the way it makes me feel. It makes me feel inhuman. Like I take it and I feel emotionless. I'm literally just like a blob and I sit there and I do work and that's it. And I don't like how it helps, like how it makes me feel, but it does help me. But I've been trying to do a lot more things that'll help me like naturally. So I'll talk to my therapist, or I've been taking CBD a lot, and that helps me like calm my anxiety because I'll get really anxious. And when I take it, it just like makes me feel like chill, and I'll just like calm out and like chill out for a sec. Breathing helps me a lot, and journaling too. I love writing down things I'm grateful for because it makes me feel super grounded, like in the moment. And that's something I need to like, that's something I like to work on because feeling grounded makes you feel present, and presence helps with anxiety because you're not thinking about the past or the future. You're literally thinking about that moment right then and there.
So when you get anxious, it sounds like it's a overwhelming body sensation. Is it overthinking too, or is it more so like a body sensation?
Like all of it. I'll be overthinking and then it turns into a body sensation. Like it's I used to get it when I was driving and I would have to pull over while I was driving because I felt like I was not driving. And when I did that, my therapist in high school, I told her about how when I was driving, I would get really bad anxiety. And she was like, something you need to do is pull over, obviously. And it's like a grounding thing that she does. And you think about how you're sitting there on the seat in your car, and your car is on the ground, and you're just like on the earth. It's like you think about how you're literally touching the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and it just helps with grounding.
Yeah. Yeah, I've come to understand anxiety. That's good thing. I'm sure a lot of people relate to that. How often do you talk about it on your channel?
Um, I talk about it sometimes, not that often. I feel like I've been trying to talk about it a lot more actually. But in the past, I wasn't allowed to talk about it, but I've been opening up a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's good. That'll, I mean, that just like makes your voice so much more, one, relatable, and two, helpful.
Oh,
for people to
it
see
helps
that.
so many people. Like I get DMs, which it makes me feel better too when I get DMs and messages from people saying that little stories like that I just told help them with their anxiety. And that like me getting messages of people saying that makes me feel better because I don't feel alone. Because it's a very alone feeling, like a very lonely feeling when you have anxiety or like when you're struggling with things like that, because then you get in your head and you're in your own world and you're like, why is this happening to me? But you're not alone because so many people struggle with that. Like everyone struggles with it. And people will look at my life and they'll be like, you live the most perfect life. Like you do this, you do that, you're like independent and stuff like that. And yes, it looks like that on the outside, but there's also like things that I struggle with behind the camera. And one of them it is my anxiety. And it is really hard, but you like it's not like you can't get through it and you're not alone struggling with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna add that my understanding of anxiety has changed a lot, just with my own experiences with it. Obviously, I had mine like erupted in high school around sophomore year, so I was like 15, and it was like very consistent for 4 years. And yeah, I mean, I guess sort of similar to you. Like I wasn't telling anyone about it, and I think that's what made it worse because it was just like my own mounting like uh, analysis of it, and like Googling my symptoms and all that kind of stuff just made it even worse. But looking back now, and especially obviously coaching lots of people through it, I really view it as just like it's just like the analogy I use is like when a caterpillar is about to turn into a butterfly, it goes into a state, like it goes into a cocoon, and it literally is paralyzed and can't move. And it's like completely dysfunctional as a caterpillar. And it like freezes up. And then a little while later, it comes out of the cocoon and it's a new beautiful creature. So my understanding of anxiety is the same way. It's like you and all the sensations that your body's going through, it's literally just like a higher energy or higher consciousness that your body's like adjusting to handling. And then it might take a year or 2 years, but eventually your body will be able to like harness all that energy. And it's basically just growing pains for your level of fulfillment and happiness and your state on a day-to-day basis. That's how I view it now. So I view it as like growing pains.
That's like perfect. And it literally comes in waves. At least for me, it comes in waves. So it's like you come out and you're good, but also it can like happen again, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's hard because I haven't had anxiety in quite a while, but I feel like viewing it that way makes you be like, oh, well, here comes my, like, this sucks right now, but like, it's going to be worth it, you
Yeah,
know?
that's another thing that happens also for me is that, or another thing that I try to remember is when I'm going through it, like really going through it, I always remember that I'm gonna come out on the other side not only feeling better, but like literally better. Like I'll learn something from it, whether it's I'll learn that to not do like the thing that caused it, or like I'll learn a new way to cope with it, or a new thing that helps me, or something that I really like something that helps me a lot with my anxiety that I didn't know about in the past. Because in the past, I used to literally lay in bed when I had really bad anxiety because I couldn't do anything. But now I go outside and I go on a walk. And I'll literally just like listen to a podcast, or I just won't listen to anything at all. And I'll listen to like the sounds around me, and that helps with my anxiety a lot because I get out and I get moving. So it helps me just like break out of that just sitting in bed all day, and gets me like outside in fresh air.
Yeah. And I think too, it's also good for like I'm sure there's been a lot of situations where you got really anxious, and then I mean, I even know one recently where you're supposed to go somewhere and then you got really anxious and then you didn't go. But like those things can actually, like, anxiety can be a signal, your body telling you like, hey, you shouldn't do that, you know? And then you can't really rationalize why, but then you take the other route and you're like, oh, that makes sense why
I
I
was
was supposed to go that way.
Yeah, like one time I was talking to this guy and I had really bad anxiety when I was staying with him. And then I left because I had really bad anxiety and like my gut was telling me, like, you need to get out of here. Got out of there. Thank God I got out of there because like
Mm,
if I were to stay, like that would have been bad. So sometimes like the gut feelings are good.
mm.
Signals. I like it. All right, cool. Let's go on to some of these fan submitted questions. Where will Emma be in 10 years? So age 29?
Wow. In 10 years, I have no idea. No clue. I don't like there's something about me where I mean if you asked me this like last year I would be like, "Oh, I'm doing this. I'm going to be owning all these properties. Like I'm going to be doing this." But then it got to the point where I was like planning my life out ahead of me and I was like, I'm going to be married when I'm like in the next 5 years I'm going to get married. I don't know why.
Yeah, I remember you telling me all this
Yes.
too.
I don't know why I was trying to plan my life out because one, there's already a plan for me. That's why I'm in the spot I am today because there's a plan for me. And two, say some things don't work out the way that I planned them to work out, I'm going to be so upset and I'm going to like be down on myself. Why not take it day by day and just go with life and just take like let life take me where I'm supposed to be taken, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, when I'm 29, I'm going to be a multi-billionaire living in this place. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm trying to like really be present and live day by day.
Mm,
Yeah, and I think if maybe you get, and this is something that I try to do as well, is like not mind made desires, but if you get like a soul guided insight or like an intuition, it's like you just feel really strongly, for example, that you need to move to Los Angeles. Well, then that can become a goal. Or if you feel really strongly that you need to be a model, it's like, okay, well, let's maybe like think, okay, I want to be on work with this photographer and that one. But that comes organically.
Yeah, there's little things like that that I have as goals like in the back of my mind, but there's also things like like specifically in what did they say in 10 years what am I going to be doing? I don't know, but there's little things like for example, I know for a fact I'm meant to be in LA. I love it there. I'm not there right now, but my goal at some point is to be living there and that goal will come into fruition like
mm.
fruition, what's the word? I don't know. It'll come into whatever
Yeah.
when the time comes and when it's like meant to happen and when everything aligns perfectly, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that's a good little insight. You know, I think, I don't know, what do you do to stay more in the present moment and be able to hear that, like, I call it like the small voice that it sounds like it's not, you know, you're not crazy, but it is like, it's like a small, like, hey, you should be going to LA. Like, what do you do to be quiet enough so that you can be aware of that?
Well, I'm the type of person where I act on impulse a lot and I would be like, I am doing this, but I want to do it now. Something I've worked on lately is I like to take a step back, look at the situation of like what I want to do, and I kind of just like sit on it for a sec. And I just like let it just like marinate almost, be there. And then I remember that I'm living life right now. I'm 19 years old. I'm doing whatever the heck I want to do. I'm working. I'm like living my best life with my friends. Why would I want to rush my life to get to the next point when I did that in the past and I'm at the point that I used to want to be like rushing towards? So like I let myself just like kind of just like remember where I came from and like what I wanted in the past and realize that I'm living that right now and to just like chill for a second before I jump to what I want next. Cause like when I was younger, when I was in high school, I would complain every single day when I was in high school. I was like, I want to leave Cape Cod. Like, I want to live in Boston. I don't want to be here anymore. I was like, I cannot wait until I graduate so I can move to Boston. But now it's like I moved to Boston. I've got that. I got everything I want. I live in my own apartment. Like, it's beautiful. I drive the car that I wanted, like everything. I have it on now. And then it's like now all I'm jumping for, like, all I'm doing is like thinking about like the next thing, like what I want to do next. This is where I want to go next. This is what I want to do next. Like, I want this, blah, blah, blah. I want to have like this different mindset, like make this much money. I can't be thinking of that all the time because it's like I need to appreciate where I am right now, because at one point this is what I wanted. And it's like, why not appreciate it? Why like keep moving to the next thing when like you didn't, I don't know, I don't want to move on in life and like be like, oh, I never really appreciated it as much as I should have.
Mm-hmm.
Now I look back on like when I lived on Cape, I didn't appreciate living on Cape as much as I should have. Now I have a better appreciation for it because it's like I look back and I'm like, oh my God, those days were great. I got in my car. I literally did absolutely nothing except for go and get coffee, go home. I was in high school. I would do homework. I would see my friends daily. I saw my best friend every single day. She lived 17 minutes away from my house. I lived walking distance to the beach. I went to the sunset every single night. Like, did nothing. Like, I had the perfect life that I wanted in that moment, but I was like just reaching for the next step and just being like, all I want to do is live in Boston. And then now I live in Boston. I'm like, oh, all I want to do is live in LA. But like, I used to just think about how I wanted to live in Boston, and I need to just like live in the moment and be more present. So that's why I work on presence now.
I actually just got off a coaching call just before this with this guy. I'm not going to say who it was, but he's from a third world country, and he's from Greece. And he was telling me like one thing that really upsets him is that like he feels like he's in a really negative place. And he's like, I live in Greece, you know, it's a third world country. No one can relate to me on my goals here. I have a like toxic home family situation. And I was telling him, I was like, step one is no matter how dark your past is and how you perceive your current living situation, you have to love all of it, even if it's bad. Like, even if you're going through some like bad stuff. And the way that you do that is like, and I think you'll be able to relate to this, like for example, some of the bullying experiences that you had in high school. Well, how's that a good thing? Well, it's helped you relate to people that have gone through the same thing. It's made you stronger so that you don't take shit now. It's showed you a path to real friends, you know, who like support you and care about you. So I'm noticing like I brought that up because it's the same thing with what you said with Cape Cod. Like, you didn't appreciate it at first, but now you look back and you're like, oh, you know what? It actually all was amazing.
And it's like certain things, like if it didn't happen in your life, you wouldn't be where you are,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you wouldn't have like learned things from it that you learned.
Mm. Yeah, that's good.
How do we get there? We were talking about where you're going to be in 10 years, 29. Oh, being present in the moment. Yeah. Accepting and appreciating everything. All good stuff. Let's see. What's next? Okay. Why haven't you added back Walter Kurtz on Snapchat?
I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
So, yeah. Sorry, Walter.
Okay. Will you date Nick?
I was going to say something. But like I can't say that. I have a boyfriend. Well, I don't have a boyfriend, like
That's funny. Okay. All right. How do you feel? This is a good question. This could be our I don't know, unless there's anything else you want to talk about. So I think this could be a good last question to end on. Is how do you feel about moving to LA?
How do I feel about moving to LA? Honestly, I'm pretty excited. I don't know when exactly I'm gonna be moving, because when I was like I had to just like when I was out there, I was like, I need to move here and I need to move here now. But I again needed to like take a step back and like chill for a sec. I'm planning around the fall. I don't necessarily know yet. Actually, before we had this call, Maggie and I toured an apartment in Boston that we've been looking at for a year already. And I need to send you pictures of it, Arlen. Arlen, it's being sick. Like, it's actually so sick. So at some point, I know I want
Oh, never mind. I was going to ask you where it is, but I don't know if you want to talk about it.
yeah,
We can talk about that later.
I'll like text you, but I know at some point I want to be in LA. I know it would be great for me to be there alone, but I'm also so young, so I can do this at any point in my life. I'm 19 years old. I can live in LA when I turn, I don't know, 20, 21, 22, like 24 even. Like, I have all the time in the world. So I'm kind of just like taking it by day, like taking it, listening to how I feel, doing whatever I really genuinely want to do. Until then, I'll probably just be like visiting a lot. I think what I want to do this summer is not summer, this winter, I want to like kind of do something like what you did, but get like an Airbnb for a month, live out there, try it out, see how I like it. Um, I'm a little afraid of the people out there. Not necessarily afraid of the people out there, but like, I mean, everyone in LA, not everyone. There's some people in LA that are like not the best, you know? But also there's really great people, and I have a pretty good solid friend group in LA, so it's like not like I'm scared to be with those people. Like, I feel like my friends are great people, but there's also some that are a little bit scary and it can get a little bit crazy. But if I were to want to move to LA a year ago, like, I thank God I didn't at all, because I feel like I was in a different mindset than I am now, where I'm ready and I'm able to be myself, and I don't have to like change myself to have people like me. So it's like I'm at the point in my life where I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I love it. Cool. Is there anything else we should talk about? That's all the questions. Every other user submitted question was related to a particular person, or they were asking if you and I are dating, or they were asking. Yeah, I would say like 10% of the questions were productive. Not everything else was inappropriate or unproductive.
So.
Guys, why? Literally because I don't talk about my like dating life on social media.
Yeah.
So people just want to know. They're very curious, and I'm like, no.
I don't even know where people get their information. Like, how do people even know? Do you talk about it?
No. People will assume things when I follow like a guy on Instagram. He follows me back. Girls are like FBIs. I could find out someone, and other girls could find out anything about me by looking at certain things, seeing certain things. So I'm sure like I should be a little bit better and kind of like not wear sweatshirts and stuff like that, but they can kind of figure it out and figure out the person too. And people's friends talk, and then friends talk, and yeah.
That's funny. There's a Jack Harlow line. He's like, "Shorty that I mess with got a friend who's a detective. She go run surveillance just to find out who I slept with."
Yeah, if I could literally find out anything about anybody. You could be like, oh, I'm talking to a new girl, not even tell me the girl, and I know her whole life story.
I bet. Really? I wonder if you could do that. I wonder if you could do that to me. I'll ask you after the call.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end the podcast, so we can chat afterward. But
thanks everyone for listening to the Emma podcast. You can find her at Emma MacDonald on YouTube at Emma MacDonald. And do you have any other big announcements or things you want to share? I don't know. Like,
Maggie and I are starting a podcast soon.
Boom. That's big. That's a long time coming.
Look on Instagram for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long time. You guys have been talking about that for a long time. I'm glad you're doing that.
Like actually doing it now too. So that's great.
That's good. I love it. All right.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me.